In the spring of 1952, horticulturalist Charles Hess published findings that stunned the American nursery industry. He discovered that a simple tea made from the branches of a common tree produced rooting success rates that rivaled anything science had synthesized in a laboratory. No patents, no factories, just water and wood. Within a decade, the discovery had quietly vanished, scrubbed from horticultural literature and replaced by products that cost $20 a bottle and expire within months. We have been told that modern plant propagation requires chemical precision, that we need industry expertise to succeed. But what if the formula for infinite plant growth is already growing along every riverbank, freely available to anyone with pruning shears and a jar? Here is the suppressed method that multiplied forests for centuries before corporate horticulture decided you needed to buy it instead. The use of willow branches to spark life in cuttings is older than written gardening manuals. Medieval monastery gardens across Europe documented the practice. Farmers noticed something remarkable. Cuttings planted near willow groves rooted faster and stronger than those planted anywhere else. The tree itself became the proof. Break a willow branch, push it into damp soil, and within weeks it does not just survive. It explodes with roots, no intervention required. By the 1800s, nurserymen across Europe and North America were quietly using willow extracts in their propagation sheds. The method appeared in Victorian gardening journals, passed between estate gardeners, and filled the unwritten knowledge of commercial plant sellers. It worked consistently enough that no one questioned the mechanism. The trees just knew how to root, and somehow they shared that ability with everything planted nearby. The science behind the folklore arrived in 1935. At the Boyce-Thompson Institute in New York, researchers Percy Zimmerman and Alfred Hitchcock isolated a molecule called indole-3-butyric acid, known as IBA. When applied to cuttings, it triggered root formation with remarkable consistency. The molecule works by reprogramming stem cells, forcing them to de-differentiate and become root initiation cells instead. It is a biochemical override that redirects the plant's entire developmental pathway. A patent was filed that same year and licensed to Merck & Company. The documentation described IBA as the most effective synthetic rooting agent ever discovered. But there was a problem with that narrative. IBA was not entirely synthetic. It occurred naturally in massive concentrations in one specific family of trees, the willows. The Salix genus produced IBA in their young growing tips, at levels far exceeding any other plant. The same trees that had rooted cuttings for centuries were now chemically confirmed as nature's rooting hormone factory. In 1952, Hess revisited the old method with modern equipment. He prepared willow diffusate, a water extract made by soaking willow twigs. His trials showed that willow water improved rooting success substantially, especially in difficult cuttings like roses and fruit trees. The results were published in journals and discussed at conferences. For a brief moment, it was acknowledged as a legitimate alternative to commercial products. Then it disappeared, not because it failed, but because the industry that had just patented synthetic indole-3-butyric acid could not profit from a tree. Willow branches contain two critical compounds that work in tandem. The first is IBA, indole-3-butyric acid, the same molecule found in every commercial rooting powder. The second is salicylic acid, known as the basis of aspirin. In plants, salicylic acid functions as a shield. It triggers the immune system and crucially slows wound healing. When you take a cutting, the plant tries to seal the wound immediately, blocking hormone flow. Salicylic acid keeps that channel open just long enough for IBA to take effect. Commercial rooting powders give you IBA, but they do not give you the shield. Willow water gives you both. It is a biologically optimized system. IBA initiates growth, and salicylic acid protects against rot. The result is faster rooting and higher survival rates. It is the same biochemistry that underpins a billion-dollar industry. The only difference is the source. By the late 1930s, the horticultural industry faced a decision. They could tell gardeners to use the free tree growing in every ditch, or they could sell the synthetic version. They chose the sale. Merck held the patents. They could control production, distribution, and pricing. A nursery that wanted rooting hormone had to buy it season after season. The subscription was built into the product. By contrast, willow water could not be patented. Anyone with access to a willow grove could make their own extract for free. The initial investment was a handful of willow whips. The ongoing cost was zero. For chemical manufacturers, this was an existential problem. A method that worked without purchase was not a method they could profit from. The solution was not to disprove willow water. It was to make it irrelevant. Throughout the 1940s and 1950s, marketing campaigns positioned synthetic hormones as modern and scientific. Brands like Hormone appeared in every catalog. The message was subtle but consistent. Professionals use chemicals, amateurs use twigs. University programs stopped teaching the willow method. Extension agents stopped recommending it. By the 1960s, it had been erased from mainstream literature. Not because it did not work, because it could not be sold. Today, the global rooting hormone market is valued at $1.2 billion. Gardeners pay $20 for a tiny bottle of powder that expires in months. The business model is designed around repeat buying. Meanwhile, willows still grow. They line riverbanks and colonize disturbed ground. A single tree pruned annually can produce enough extract to propagate thousands of plants. The industry has no incentive to remind you of this. The suppression is not active censorship. It is structural invisibility. It is time to reclaim what was taken. The process is deceptively simple. It begins with identifying the tree. Any species in the Salix genus works. Look for flexible branches near water or the distinctive fuzzy catkins in spring. The secret is in the age of the wood. You need the young energy, the shoots from the current growing season with green or yellow bark. Older gray wood contains far less IBA. Cut the young shoots into 1-inch segments and strip the leaves. Fill a jar halfway with the pieces. Pour boiling water over them to break down the cell walls instantly. Seal the jar and let it steep for 24 hours. When you open it, the water will be pale amber, like weak tea. This is your rooting hormone. Strain out the wood and store the liquid in the fridge. It stays potent for up to 2 months. To use it, simply pour a small amount into a cup and soak the base of your cuttings overnight. Then plant them as normal. It works on roses, berries, and shrubs. It performs identically to synthetic products because it is the same product, just harvested with a pair of scissors instead of synthesized in a lab. The disappearance of willow water wasn't malice, it was economics. A product that generates zero revenue cannot survive in an industry built on sales. But chemistry doesn't lie. IBA is IBA. The only difference between the bottle and the branch is who profits. You have a choice. Stay in the billion-dollar loop, or walk to the river and break the cycle. The industry exists because we forgot what willows remembered. But the trees are still waiting. If this story changed how you see the weeds in your ditch, subscribe to Nature's Lost Vault. We are digging up the technology they tried to bury. Make the tea. Plant the future. The next vault opens soon.